What happens when you are constantly escaping life through the screen? Couldn't get my question? Well, let's think a little about the daily course of our activities. Hope now you are able to understand. Yes, I'm referring to the mobile screen. Amazing morning, listeners. Welcome to yet another interesting episode of our podcast, Giridhar's Garady, with your host, Giridhar. Today, we have a captivating personality with us. He is someone who is a fitness freak, enthusiastic traveler, fashion icon, passionate toastmaster, and hey, the look-alike of famous Bollywood actor Kunal Kapoor. Here's welcoming the guest for today's episode, Kaushik. Hi Kaushik, welcome to Giridhar's Gardy. How are you doing today?
Well, great. I feel really good.
Great. So, just one question before we start. How do you feel like being a guest on this podcast?
It's good. I always feel a podcast are a good platform to make your thoughts heard, and I'm really happy to be part of this podcast that my thoughts are being heard to everyone. And
Awesome.
intention of doing this podcast is to not have any impact in people's life, etc., but just to push people in a direction to think in certain way. That's it. And I feel the listeners are adults enough to decide what they want to choose.
Of course, Kaushik. Thank you so much for the disclaimer as well. All right. So, Kaushik, tell me, what is minimalism in general?
Yes, so I don't want to give any textbook kind of a definition, but it's just simple. It's just about living with only what you need to live, right? I mean, do you really need 50 to 60 shirts to live? It just happens that sometimes we have so many that we don't even realize if we're still using them. But one thing for sure, we know is that we are going to buy more. So minimalism refers to this simple approach where it runs on the idea, says the less is good and the more is bad.
Oh, sounds interesting. Then, what is digital minimalism?
Hmm. So before we get into the skin of the discussion, I'd like to add a caveat here. People equate digital minimalism to not using any digital media, but that's not the crux. I mean, the same idea that we have discussed before for the minimalism can be applied here. Using the digital medium only for what you need. I would like to reiterate, which is using the digital medium only for what you need. Yes, I can understand it's important to stay updated. I can understand it's important to have fun with memes. I also understand it's important to stay in touch with friends. But unless you're an influencer or monetizing your content, do you really need to use the digital media or any other social media platform for 15 to 20 times a day for all the needs that I mentioned before? So I strongly believe a minimalistic approach towards digital media is a need of the hour.
Yes, I must say it's a thought provoking aspect. Okay, so how did this concept of digital minimalism evolve?
Okay, so to be frank, honestly, it didn't evolve yet. I'm hoping that it evolves more. Like I mentioned, I strongly believe that it is the need of the hour. And I hope people give this as much priority as they talk about their mental health, because I strongly believe that digital minimalism and mental health are highly correlated. This is not just from my personal experience, but I also spoke to several of my friends who followed this approach. And when I asked them as to how did they feel about it, everyone said that it is so blissful and it's so peaceful and they have never been so happier. So based on all these experiences that I've heard and based on my personal experience, digital minimalism and mental health are highly correlated, and I hope it can only evolve more and more moving forward.
Yes, that's true. Digital minimalism and mental health are correlated. Yes. Okay. So, what are the areas in which we can implement this concept of digital minimalism?
Okay, that's an interesting question, but the answer is very simple, which is almost all day and every day and everywhere. That's because If we sit and look at the screen time that we use, the mobiles, laptops, TVs, etc., etc. So there's a lot of scope where we can implement the digital minimalism.
Okay. Okay. Then in what way we can apply this concept of digital minimalism to our professional lives?
Oh, okay. So like keeping the personal digital minimalism aside, and if you talk only about the professional lives, uh, I think it's really simple and there's no one rule that can fit everybody. But I would like to mention that helped me in my professional life, which is the 80-20 rule. This is the most powerful rule, and you can almost apply this 80-20 rule to anything. For example, you can pick the 80% of the economy of a country or the world is in the hands of 20% of the richest people, right? So you can apply this rule to anything almost, and you can apply the same thing to your work, which is 80% of the work can be done within 20% of your time. By time, I mean it's a focused time, right? So a simple hack that I would like to say to implement this in the professional lives is just on a daily basis, decide a 3 to 4 hour window throughout the day and make sure you're not distracted within these 3 to 4 hours. The step one is keep your phone in a different room. And if you're using any work related applications, put them on the DND mode. Sometimes it's difficult to put them on the DND mode because you get these pings from the peers, colleagues, etc. But it gets really easy once you have the conversation with your managers and let them know that you need this 3 to 4 hour window so that it can also improve the project and the productivity, right? So yeah, this is what you can do, which is just decide the 3 to 4 hour window and try to stay away from all the distractions, put your phone away and just do your work with a lot of focus. And trust me, you can get done a lot of your work within the 3 to 4 hour window of your time. And it's going to pay huge dividends in the long run.
Wow, well said, Kaushik. I really loved the 80-20 rule that you are talking about.
Thank you.
Okay. Now tell me, how could we become a digital minimalist with respect to social media?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I might need an additional for it, but I'll try to concise the answer with very few points, which is the first thing that could strike to my mind is it's very simple. Just restrict yourself to not pick up your phone for 2 to 3 hours straight. For example, like I mentioned in the above, if you're finishing your work at 6 or 7, just don't pick up your phone for like 1 to 2 hours, and after that you can use it for like 1 hour, 2 hour continuously. But decide a window again and don't use the phone for like 2 to 3 hours. And one more thing, if you're not able to do it after your work, etc., another simple hack is as soon as you wake up, it's the easiest thing. As soon as you wake up, don't use your phone for the first 2 hours. That's it. Maybe a few necessaries like gym applications, and if you want to call someone and if you want to transfer any amount, those applications, yes, you can use, but only those strictly and not anything else apart from that. uh, See, I believe how you start a day has a huge impact throughout the day. I mean, imagine you just woke up, opened Instagram, and there is some unwanted content that you're consuming. What a total waste of a good night's sleep, right? In fact, we have come to a situation where the apps or the applications started to dictate which video a person needs to watch or what content they want us to consume. And honestly, I work with data and I know what can be done with it in the backend. So I hope more awareness can be created among this, which is exactly why I was happy to do this podcast. And one another simple thing, it's not so simple when we want to implement it, but try to give it a shot, which is take a break from social media for 2 to 3 months straight. The world is not going to miss you, or the Instagram or Snapchat or any other platform will not miss you. And just live low and spend time with yourselves and put yourselves to being bored. Yes, put yourselves to being bored, and only when you're bored you'll think of inculcating a habit or a hobby. Otherwise, if you don't do that, consuming content will your hobby and the habit, right? So if you follow all these things, like three things, one is I would like to reiterate it within a minute, which is restrict yourself to not pick up your phone for 2 to 3 hours straight, and don't use your mobile for the first 2 hours after you wake up, and take a break from social media for 2 to 3 months straight. Just live low, and see that it can make a lot of difference to your lives.
Amazing, Kaushik. Maybe practically it's hard to implement, but yes, following with the way that you, I mean, the approach that you were actually suggesting, that was really good. Okay. I think in one of your lines, as you mentioned that you work with data, I just would like to add a follow-up question here. Could you enlighten us more on how this data is being used?
Yes, definitely. So regarding this, I feel if someone else is using your data, it's almost like they're manipulating your thoughts. It's an invasion of privacy. You There is no free lunch, right? And there are a lot of applications that we consume for free, which means we are giving away our data to us, data to them, and they're utilizing the data, right? So there are literally millions and billions being spent just to decide what video you watch next. I mean, it's really bad for someone else to decide of your time. I would say you have to take control of your lives, and there are a lot of ways to do that. But the need of the hour, and one way to do is to live digitally minimal.
Absolutely. Okay. Now tell me, what are the benefits of implementing this digital minimalism in our lives?
Yeah, see, the usage of digital media pushes people to live in a distracted world, right? And if everyone is living in a distracted world, the focus levels of people have significantly reduced. So if you follow this minimalistic approach, you can directly improve your focus levels, and it's like a butterfly effect. It can also it can have impact in almost all the areas of your life, like be it your time with friends, family, health, personal lives, or professional lives. And also, like I mentioned about what can be done with data, as to there's a lot of algorithmic marketing, like based on what you're seeing, the same recommendation engines are being built to suggest you the products that you might fall prey to. So if you use the digital media less, obviously you are no more prey to the modern algorithmic marketing.
Very true. Correct. Okay. Then what are the drawbacks of not implementing digital minimalism in our lives?
uh, okay, it's very simple. It's like you will not have time for yourself. You wake up and you'll keep working throughout the day, and without even realizing where your time went, right? So if you don't have the time for yourself, uh, you're not fully aware of yourself. And if you apply this for one step forward, if you're not fully aware of yourself, you are not even sure of what can make you happy. If you don't know how can you be happy with yourself, how will another person be happy while staying with you? So all your relationships will get affected, and also your personal and professional lives can also get affected. But if you implement the minimalistic approach towards the digital media, it can reap a lot of benefits to you.
Yeah, correct. Now tell me, what is the impact of this digital minimalism on the society as a whole?
Oh, I am really glad that you asked that question, because there are some huge benefits. Because I believe we are now living in a polarized world. By polarized, I mean people are so divided in their opinions, and these opinions are very strong. So those who love one particular thing will get obsessed of it, and if someone doesn't like that particular thing, they just absolutely hate it. So if there's more awareness, and if more and more people implement digital minimalism, I hope that this polarity will reduce significantly, and the obsessions that come along with it will also reduce. So people will start listening to others more than they want to reply to them. And the world needs more listeners, but this obsessed opinions is only creating more talkers and not listeners. So it's going to have a significant impact on the society as well.
Yeah, that's correct, Kaushik. Because like you said, yeah, we are not like only listening, we are actually listening to respond mostly.
Yeah.
That's with respect to the social media and everything. Yeah.
Exactly, and the basically this polarity, the division of opinions is only creating. Everyone wants to express their thoughts or opinions, but nobody is actually ready to listen or accept the other person's opinions.
Correct. Okay. So before we wind up this concept, just one message for our listeners with respect to this digital minimalism.
Yeah, very simple message, I would say. One should always know the two sides before we judge which side of the coin is better. So even after finishing this podcast, before you go ahead and continue with your feed on digital media, just ask these 2 to 3 questions to yourself, which is, have you experienced that other side of the coin? Have you even tried? Do you know what it is like to live a low key? And just experience it, try it, and then you decide if it's your cup of tea or not. uh, I mean, without even experiencing it, don't come to a conclusion that digital minimalism is not for me. I can't live without social media or Instagram, etc., etc. Just give it a try. Trust me, you will understand the other side of the coin, and you'll know what reality is.
Superb, superb. Thank you so much, Kaushik, for that amazing message. Kudos to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So before we bid adieu, now it's time for us to have a short, fun segment that is the rapid fire round. So let me tell you that this is just a fun segment. You don't have any logic. You don't have to think much. You will be given some set of questions with two options. You can choose either both, none, or anything, any of them. So are you ready?
Yes, sounds interesting.
Great. So my first question to you, Kaushik, in the rapid fire round, smartphone or laptop?
Smartphone, majorly for the UPI payments and Google Maps. These are the only two things that I'd miss if I don't use a smartphone.
Okay, you are minimalist even in this time at this point. Okay. Instagram or Facebook?
Neither.
Okay, again, you are in line with what you have told. Okay, Amazon or Netflix?
Netflix.
Okay, why so?
I feel there's a better content on Netflix, like documentaries, etc.
Okay, okay. Pictures or videos?
Videos.
Okay. Gym or yoga?
This is a tough question because I love both of them equally, but gym is what gets my adrenaline, so it's gym.
Great, I expected this. Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Okay. Bike or car?
Hmm. Anything is fine as long as there is no traffic.
Okay. That's a wise answer, I must say. Okay. Beaches or mountains?
Mountains all day, every day.
Great. You were an enthusiastic traveler, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I love mountains.
Okay, great. Modeling or acting?
Oh, that's a surprising question. I must say neither are my strengths. But if I have to pick one, I'd go for acting.
Oh, that's great. All right. So the last question to you, Kaushik, in the rapid fire round, my favorite one. Let's see what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Giridhar or Kaushik?
Obviously, it's you, because it's because of you that a lot of listeners are able to listen to all this podcast. So it's Giridhar.
Ah, thank you, Kaushik. Thank you so much for choosing me as well as being with us on this podcast today. And we look forward to having you once again on this podcast in near future.
Sure, definitely, definitely. And thank you so much for having me as a guest. And it's been really nice talking to you and uh, talking over this podcast. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Kaushik, for being with us today.
Thank you.
All right. So that's the end of the today's episode, listeners. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll be back next week with another amazing guest. See you.